Zero compression.
It's slightly concerning.
Zero compression is not right.
I've got to investigate.
Valve stuck. Well, you can see straight away what the problem is. They're seized. I can't move them. And there it is. I had it. Well, I've already scrubbed it and soaked it a bit. I'm going to clean this bit more in there, get as much of the mud off as possible. Now, listen again, I keep saying if I was going to have it restored, I'd have it vapor blasted. I'd have everything vapor blasted, but I'm not restoring it. I just want to get the thing running. So I'm going to clean all this up, take out the rockers, which come out from the nuts and bolts either side, see what's going on with the valves, both of which now I've managed to move. I've managed to push them both into the cylinder head, clean all this up, lap the valves in, and in the meantime I've got to order some parts, a head gasket. I think that might be the old one there, and any other bits and pieces I might need to put it back together, and clean the carb as well, which is filthy. I'm going to get on and take these rockers out, which means taking out, there's a tiny little kind of like a cotter pin nut there, and then this whole lot should just pull out, hopefully. They're very typical Guzzi rockers. It's also smaller. I hope this will come out easily enough. First of all, bend back the little arms of the split pin. I always get mixed up between a cotter pin and a split pin. Anyway, it's kind of split pin. So that should pull out. So put that there. I'll take the nut off there. It's a 14 this side. Sorry, it's a 14 that side, and a 13 this side. So these are just done up tight enough that you can get the pin in, I assume. You know, kind of hand tight. I'm going to use a ratchet to speed things up a bit. Okay. Ooh. Now, of course, it's always important, and I always try my best to keep all the parts in order. So, nut washer. Now, I'm assuming that this will just basically yeah, it's coming out. Right, I can do it by hand now. Yeah, it's quite a tight fit in there, which is good because it means it's not worn out. Right, so that's the rocker bolt out. Now, does that have to come out as well? That's the question. Okay, I think it does. So the rocker spindle on which the rocker sits, I think is going to have to come out as well. I basically took the rocker arm off the inlet side of the head because it was just easier just to do it, not on the camera, but I'll try and do this one in a minute. There's all the bits and pieces. There were two kind of like, I don't know, almost like kind of washer type things either side of the rocker spindle that came out. So with my valve spring compressor, I've taken the collets off. So again, I want to keep everything in order. So that's the top, or the cap. There are the valve springs. Now, so I'm going to have to measure those because if they're completely worn out, I'm going to need to find some new ones if possible. I can't see any shims or anything in there, so I'll just push the valve through. Which actually I can't do. I'll just tap it with the end of my screwdriver. Yeah, clearly very sticky. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see that. I should really look at the parts book. I have got a parts book, but I keep them on my iPad and I can't find my iPad Right, so that's the bottom. Put that back in there. And then we have the valve. Which I think I'm just going to really have to just tap through really somehow. It's all the carbon down it. Yeah, and I can see corrosion in there as well. You probably can't see that. But it's corrosion on the stem. Right, I'll leave that for now. I'll start to take the other one apart. With a pen here, I'm going to mark inlet, so I know all the stuff is off the inlet. Then exhaust here. Right, this time I've got to be more careful to check exactly the positioning of the these little kind of spacer things. It's interesting, doesn't seem to be a washer on that one. I often end up just using my hands because sometimes, you know, big ratchets are not that easy to use with them. I prefer my smaller ratchet. Right, so that's the rocker, the bolt that holds the spindle in. Right, so I think it's a little spacer there, and I think it's a little spacer there. What I'm going to do is get my small socket right, just tap gently. Then there's the rocker spindle. But the smaller spacer is in there. I'm just going to tap that back to where it was. It'd be easier to drift it out. Yeah, I know I shouldn't be using a screwdriver, but right, it's a bit mushed up. That's not me tapping it. It's already like mushed up, I think. So I might have to try and find another one of those. I'll have to see. Doesn't need to be compressed by much. Get the collets out. That's the top of the spring retainer. Those are the springs. I'm just going to tap the valve gently. Oh, that was the exhaust valve I was tapping. I didn't mean to tap that one. I meant to tap the other one. So that's the two. They're pretty much as how I found them when I took the head off, but obviously now we haven't got all the valve springs and stuff. I think what I'll probably do is leave this soak a little bit longer, then try and get the valves out. And if the valves, you know, if it's really difficult and the valve guides are really kind of a bit messed up, or, you know, got lots of stuff, then I might take it up to, I've got a guy called Thatch who does my, you know, stuff like honing and things like that, that he, you know, is a real expert. And I might get him to look at the valves and stuff. But I'll leave him to soak a bit more and go from there. But at least that's their head stripped down anyway. And yeah, it's not too bad. There's a couple of things that need looking at, but not terrible. Okay, so the next job that I've got to do on this Galletto is take off the other side panel, which is this one here with the bolts here. And to take that off, I've got to take off the gear lever. There's a nice little indicator. I don't know if you can see there, there are the numbers of the gear shown there. A little gear indicator there, so that's got to come off. And the kickstart lever as well. There's just a bolt there. All this can be replaced, all these rubbers and stuff. It's pretty filthy now. But one of the reasons I've got to take this off is, first of all, just to have a look on that side, and also I have to find the engine number to get the Galletto registered, because I'm in the owners club. I'm in the Moto Guzzi owners club in this country, and you can get hold of a dating letter. And if I supply the engine and frame numbers, oh, that's stiff. If I supply the engine and frame numbers, they will give me a letter from the club, which is recognised by the DVLA, and I can send that in with, you know, the money that you got to pay and any other documentation to get it registered. I'll put a bit more WD-40 on there. In the meantime, I'll get on with the bolts, which are, looks like 10mm bolts. I've got the usual magnetic tray, which is quite handy to put the bolts in so they don't disappear. In the meantime, I've got the cylinder head is still soaking. I did manage to push the exhaust valve, which was seized, and that loosened up. I've just got to look at the intake, but at the moment I've got it just soaking in my parts washer for a bit. What I like about Moto Guzzis, what I've always liked about them, is they're just really easy to work on. They're just, you know, over-engineered. Some people call them agricultural. I guess they are in some respects, but I don't think it's such a bad thing. And the components are strong. I've just rebuilt my 1976 Moto Guzzi T3 California, and in fact, you know, I wish I'd filmed it really, but to be honest, I just didn't really have time. Working on it was a pleasure. Even just stripping it down, all the bits are nice and big components, nice big components. Easy to work on, easy to identify if something's wrong. Just nice. I'm sure there should be a bolt in there, something. Maybe not. Maybe it just sits just on the spline. Yeah, in fact, I can see now I've realised, and I forgot from my other one, that you got to take the side panel off first. Hence the kind of U shape, so that once this is off, you undo that, you lift the whole thing out. Okay, so I've taken all the bolts out now, and one thing I remember with Gallettos, they always had, now these may have been replaced, but they're quite well known for using all these aluminium washers, and I think they may well be original. You know, it's pretty original to me, the little bolts and stuff, the little 10mm bolts. So this is loose now. One thing I do like about these Gallettos and the design, see the speedo cable comes under there, and it's just got a nice little shape on the casting to let the speedo cable come into the motor. Then they're just the little I don't know, what do you call these? There's a name for them. Not a bevel, is it a bevel? Anyway, those shapes on there, they're just nicely designed. Take that washer off. Right, so in fact this can actually just lift straight up, which I think I will do. So again, aluminium, painted aluminium, original paint. I'm going to clean all this up, it'll come up really nicely. I'll put that up there for now. And there's the engine exposed. So kickstart, as I said, the cylinder head is missing obviously because I've taken it off, and in fact if you see any oil underneath, that's because it's just the oil that's come out of the feeds to the head. I've got to get around to draining the oil anyway, so that's what the oil's there for. Speedo drive onto the motor, that's the back of the dynamo. The chain sort of just rests on there, although it's a bit odd to see. Oh, I see, it's a stop for the kickstart. So in fact, actually this, I don't think I even need to take it off. What is good is that the kickstart ratchet quadrant, I think it's called, although it's used, it's not in terrible condition, so it's actually meshing quite nicely with this the starter gear. And looking at the gearbox sprocket, I mean it's all warm, but it's all not terrible. And to be honest, the chain doesn't look too bad. You know, as I've said before, I'm not restoring this because I'm not going to. I just want to recommission it, get it running again. Again, it's all worn, but it's not terrible. It's not hooked over. That's the single-sided swinging arm, and I think I might have shown you this before, but the chain is adjusted here. It's very clever. This bolt here, you loosen it off. This, then using that lever, you pull that lever backwards or forwards, and that adjusts the whole hub slightly backwards or forwards depending on what you need. And at the moment it's all not looking too bad. So I'm hoping to find the engine number here somewhere. I think I'll take the gear lever off. Okay, so I'm going to take the gear lever off. I managed to loosen the screw off this screw, which was pretty tight, with my trusty impact wrench. And I bought this from a shop in North London, which is where I'm from, when I was about 18, and I had a Ford Escort van at the time, a 1977 Ford Escort van. Anyway, I bought this, I can't remember how much I paid, and I've got a set of various bits. And it's just one of those tools, you know, I really like tools, probably like most of you, like people who are into old bikes and old cars. And some tools just seem to last forever, and this is one, and it's just been so useful over the years. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, so that's the screw. There's a washer. Put those up there. Then the little gear indicator, that should just come off. Normally just sits on a square. Yeah, you can see the square shape. So it just sits on the end of the kick shaft gear. Now this, it's so dirty I can barely see. There is there what I believe is probably a 10mm bolt. Now it is a bit loose on the shaft, the gear lever, which is no surprise considering the bike is 70 years old. Is that right? 19, almost 70 years old. As I said to you in the past, I'm terrible at mathematics. Absolutely terrible. Numbers to me are just a mystery. Although that said, if I do apply myself, you know, I'm working on an engine, obviously I need to know some numbers and calculations and stuff, so I manage to do stuff like that, but when I was at school it was a nightmare. Just couldn't do anything. Right, let's see if that's starting. No, it's not one that's come off yet. Now I can't really see. I'm hoping I don't have to take this off to get this bolt out. Everything's so filthy. But that's the other thing with you know, vehicles, a bit like scooters, that are all enclosed, is that you know, the owners never really bother to take off all the stuff that I've just taken off and actually clean anything. Right, so I think what's happened here is that this, which is a rubber kind of runner, I think it's distorted and it's making it more difficult to take this off. There we go. So there's the gear lever. 0. That's a bit odd. 0, 2, 3, 4. 0, 2, 3, 4. Well, whatever. I think it's got 4 gears. I think they mean 1, 0, 1. Well, I don't know. I would have put 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. Now I'm hoping to find the engine number here somewhere. Okay, I'm going to spray some. Oh, is that it there? Okay, I'm going to spray some stuff on to just soften up the mud a little bit, and then I'm going to start looking around here for the engine number. So that's the engine frame number. I'll just wipe that bit better. it's actually in a, you know, it's in a clever place. It's easy to find. Well, wasn't that easy to find, but once you found it, it's in a place that seems sensible. So anyway, I'm going to take a photo of that now, and I'm going to send that off to the dating officer at the Moto Guzzi Club with the supporting Italian paperwork that I've got, which shows that it was registered under these numbers. And I'll send that off, and I can start looking at trying to get it registered. And in the meantime, I'm going to clean this area up because obviously it's a mess. I'm going to drain the oil. That's the oil drain. There's a filter in there. I need to get some degreasant on this engine, get some of that filth off.